everyone, and welcome back to Nutritix. My name is Amy and I'm here to show you the key changes that we've just made in our August push 2024. First up, we have some new changes with our waste features. So these new settings are here to make your waste calculations even more accurate, but also to make things more accommodating to you while you're using it in your recipes. So kind of customizing what you want to see when you're working with waste. So you can find the new settings by going to Settings, Preferences, and scrolling down to Recipes. So these three new settings are just going to change how you see waste in your account. So the first setting is to input and display ingredients in their prepared form in recipes. So if I go back over to a recipe, you can see that our beetroot here shows that it's excluding waste. So the beetroot has a waste percentage of 3%. So when we input that into a recipe, we usually show it as 155 grams excluding the waste. So if we go back to our settings, scroll to the very bottom and we enable this setting, let's refresh our recipe. It's now showing as 155 grams, so it's only inputting the prepared waste here. So before this, it said 160. So it's just customizing how you want to see waste. So do you usually work with prepared quantities or do you work with entire quantities and exclude the waste? Then back to our settings, the second setting is to use the trimmed waste automatically. So that means when you're inputting the ingredients into your recipe, here, you won't have to select this ingredient yield, so this will select automatically and it's only going to use the prepared or the trim waste when you're inserting. And the third setting is to use these trimmed or prepared wastes when you're generating your shopping lists or your inventory lists. So it's really just allowing you, if you only work with prepared wastes, to just use those throughout the system. So hopefully you find those new settings useful and it'll streamline your own processes when you're working with waste and prepared forms in your kitchens. Another thing we've optimized is our costs of goods sold. So if we go into a portion here, you can always see your costs of goods sold down here in the costing panel. So we've added some new settings for this as well, so you can optimize how you're calculating this. So again, this is down to preference. So you can see it here in the COGS component. So this is just allowing you to set whether you'd like to include any of these components when you're calculating the cost of goods sold. So as an example, you might want to exclude packaging when you're calculating this figure. So you can just disable it here. So our third change is down to foods and ingredients that you edit the ingredient list of. So very often if you're using system foods, so foods from our databases or your own supplier foods, sometimes you may edit the ingredient list along the way, and sometimes this can be hard to keep track of. And of course in Nutritix, we always want to ensure that allergen data is the most accurate and always up to date. So we want to keep everyone informed of the changes they're making. So it's just an effort to make things easier to track. So if we edit the a system food here from our recipe, so let's say we edit our beetroot and we'll just add a random ingredient just to show how this works. We can now update this food. But now when we open the beetroot and we scroll down to its ingredient list, there's a new message now to let us know that the ingredient list for this food has been customized. And what's really cool here is that you can simply just click to restore the original and then it's going to go back. But it's a really useful one to ensure that your ingredient lists and your allergens are up to date. Another useful one that we've added is to suggest a short name for your foods. So this one will be particularly useful for our suppliers or anyone uploading foods for use. So you need a short name on a food to publish it. And the short name is basically just used in a quid or an ingredient list. So if you had a longer name on your product, it would just shorten down the name so it's easier to read for customers and your users. So if we add a new food from the start menu and we name our food, so let's say we're adding strawberry yogurt, you'll see now that Nutritix will automatically suggest a short name for you to use. So let's just click out here and you can see that this has been generated. So we actually use our Libro AI system to automatically generate these short names, but don't worry, you can always edit these if you'd prefer to put in your own. But it's just an effort to kind of streamline and help users when they're adding lots of food to their account It's just another field that hopefully we can help tick off in the process. And then finally, we've made an improvement to our tracking system. So for anyone using our forecasting and waste systems here, if we switch over to our tracking dashboard here, we have some figures put in for the day. So what's really cool here is we have a out of stock monitor. So we can see here that the homemade vegetable soup is still in stock. So usually you have to manually tick this icon here to inform it. But we've now synced this up with our ordering dashboard. So if we open up our menu to process an order, and we'll process just a couple servings of our soup here, and this will sync right through to our ordering dashboard as normal. But the change now, when we go back to our tracking dashboard, let's refresh the menu. You can see actually before we even go into tracking that the out of stock monitor here has automatically enabled. So let's go over to our tracking just to be sure. Scroll across. We can see that 2 units were sold and now this is showing as out of stock. And if we go back to our menu, so we view our digital menu, it's now showing with the sold out banner across the item. So hopefully that's a really useful feature for those using our ordering system, as everything will sync across automatically there. We've lots of other changes that have went live as well. So I definitely recommend checking out our changelog for those. But if you have any questions on the changes that I've went through today, you can email our engagement team at support@nutritics.com.